Slurpity-dap, my G's. Are you perhaps someone who goes to the gym or enjoys weightlifting or enjoys the sound of metal weights being dropped on the floor? And do you also like drum and bass? And do you also like snare drums? And do you also want to put a nice little background layer into your snare drum using the sound of a metal weight? Well, I'm here to tell you that that is possible, and we are definitely going to do that together without a real kind of structural plan here. Basically, what I notice sometimes on when I have lessons with people who are producing drum and bass is they don't often put enough, in my opinion, detail into their snare drum. They'll often pick a great snare sample, maybe layer a bit of white noise or something like that, but then that's as far as they'll go. And from my experience of producing, and also when I have had the chance to listen to the snares of other popular drum and bass producers that I admire, there's actually a lot of work gone into it in the detail, and it's definitely worth putting a lot of detail into the snare, because the whole rhythm, like even for mixing drum and bass, everything revolves around the snare. So it's actually like the most important character in the track, I would argue. You know, I would say the kick drum is the most important structural element of the track in terms of the mix down, but I would say that the snare is the most important element in drum and bass in terms of the track's character. So you better be putting in a lot of time and effort into making a snare drum sound good. And so one way you can do that is to have, I like this 80-20% method. So 80% of my snare can be just a flat kind of snare without character, but just kind of does the job. But then I want to put like 20% of weirdness into it somewhere. So I've got a little drum beat here, which sounds like this. And I've got a little sample from Freesound, which is some sort of weights being messed around. Okay, and the important thing to know is that it's not like you have to be perfect with anything. I kind of liked these little two parts. So let's, for example, to keep things simple, you create two variations, two different snare layers, and even the recording quality is like not that high on them, but that's not important really, because it's just going to be a background layer. So if I open the snare kind of part to the drums here, and we're just going to place these first in the right position. I mean, that was quite nice having that little lead up like that, you know. Let's put another one on here. Let's find, and again, we're just going for vibe. We don't really care about exactly too much about what we're doing. We're just trying to get extra content in there somewhere, you know. So that's quite nice. And then, oh, that's cool with the clap at the end there. So if I go back to looping that, you know, this first one is quite a lot going on, because you have this whole kind of like what's the word I'm looking for? The fade in part, you know. This is almost like a little reverse sweep. So I might go as far as to say that could be a little bit too excessive on every snare. So perhaps I'll do just that on the last one. That's wonderful. Okay, so but the first part's the same. So already, without even like mixing it down, it already kind of fits, because it's just, I kind of had this idea when I was literally at the gym earlier, and I was thinking about what to make for a video, and I was like, I've sort of done this once before. One of my patrons, shout out my G Kerry from the USA, he once a long time ago, I got him to record some samples, I think at his gym, or I think I got him to record like some sounds and send them over from like a similar kind of thing. But this time I've just picked one on Freesound, and so how would we mix it in now? This would be the quickest way to do it. all the three things to pay attention to are when mixing in a snare layer. So snare layering 101 advice, top advice I can give, three things to always remember. Take out any low end. Beware of the transient, so it's not super strong. And then mix in the volume. So that's basically the three things only really that you have to do, you know? Other things you can do as bonus, you can put on a bit of tape, you can put on a little bit of reverb, some creative effects. That's like a bonus thing you can do. But the key things to do first, or the most important things to mix it in properly, is EQing the low end out, shaping the transient so it fits with the original, and volume adjusting it so it blends in well. So right now it's obviously too loud. It's probably got some rumble in the low end, so let's take care of that first. So it's not too much, but we'll always take care of the rumble just in case. So around there. Okay, next we'll do the transient. So I like sort of the tail of the sound, most of it. So with the transient, I'm really only ever concerned so much with the attack part, So just taking that down always. Because this ties in with the 80-20 rule. So 80% of the power of the snare is going to come from that original powerful flat snare sample that you hopefully found and used, and 20% of the character is going to come from this foley addition thing, right? So that being the case, we've got to make sure that the priority of the transient is always with the main one, so we can take the transient off from this layer. Make sure all the transient of the first main snare comes through much clearer than the layer. So this one is then pushed back into the background a lot better like that. So we've done that. And then finally, like I said, we could just do a little bit of volume adjustment. Okay, that's great. It's all it's got to be. We've added in, it's at least 20% of sort of extra content on top of that snare. And like I mentioned before, if you wanted to do a little bit of, for example, you could put a bit of tape on so that the snare will be, the layer will be kind of modulating a bit differently, like sort of messing with the pitch a little bit. Let's do that anyway, because I think that could be quite a good idea. I probably would do it personally if I was actually working on the track myself. I probably would do this. So let's just choose one that. So this one's quite nice. It's a very subtle one, this one, but it does give you a little bit of variation in the harmonics. So that's all I'm looking for. And then after that, we'll just do a cheeky little reverb, just a tiny one. It's quite a good length, and then we'll just take the wet down. Okay, that should be fine, and then we'll just quickly check that again in the whole mix with the drums now, make sure we can hear it well. And I just feel like this, because we've always got to pay attention to the vibe, obviously. I just feel like the second one doesn't end quite so nicely, and it's either it needs to be shorter or longer. Let's just try a bit shorter. It's quite nice short. Yeah, a little bit like that. I do like that call and response technique always, where one layer is longer than the other one. That's something I'll often do. So you can have the first one is a bit longer and more open, and the second one is like shorter and tighter, so snappier. So you get a bit of like an open and closed motion into the drums, Okay, so that's perfect. That's all I'm looking for, really. And then if you do something just like that on your own project and think of a Foley sound, anything really that has a bit of high-end info, and apply the same mix-down technique that I've just used and put that into your snare, what you'll end up with is a snare that's much more unique to you, that has much more character, that has a bit of detail, a nice bit of treatment to it that makes it stand out from any old snare and gives it that extra special character that could be needed for your drum and bass track, which will it'll just feel like you've put a bit more time and care into the snare drum, which is super important. So leave a comment down below what other kind of cool snare layers you can think of. I've used many in the past, like so many different things. You can use like acoustic snare samples, wooden textures, foley, stuff like that. There's literally the whole world is your oyster for this kind of thing. So you can really feel free to be as creative as possible when you're doing layering like this. But yes, anyway, thank you for watching. I hope that was helpful, my G's. If you guys ever want to have a production lesson with me, I'm always available via my website. You can book in one-on-one classes there. We have a discount on packages as well, in case you want to have like a longer period of training where I train you one-on-one on your own music, be that in any software, doesn't matter what DAW you're using, and it's also fine if you're producing a different genre and you just want to use my mix down skills and my training in music production in a general sense to help you with whatever genre you're working on. I love to work on genres outside of drum and bass as well. I had a student recently with kind of making like a house, kind of almost sounds like a bit of a Berlin kind of house vibe. It's really nice. Anyway, thank you very much. Have a great rest of your day. I'll catch up with you guys soon. Peace out.